things in a form of stream of consciousness, and today I actually still will, but this one has a extreme focus that is on. I'm going to show how the Plutarchs, the plutocrats, how they're using the dialectic of the media as an attack vector. Okay, the last one I did, I showed I had to be absolutely ruthless, and that was right the day before the situation with Speaker Pelosi's husband, and actually Speaker Pelosi, because they're at this age they're a singular being, and that, and how the Plutarchs create this mess with by buying up all of the media, both local and national, creating this fear and hate on purpose, bouncing it off with China, and then how Putin is bouncing and playing off of that. We see that with Sky News and things like that. And then we're going to end at the how it affects the great houses of civilization, and that does make kind of make sense at this present time. It'll make sense some more. So let me begin. Now, right now, why is the media attacking straight men? Well, that was after this happens. Now they're talking about the Me Too movement and all this. It is a subtler attack, just like how they've made their attacks on my positions less. When I'm trading, how they've been attacking my positions. Now their whole goal is to say, see, he can't make money, blah blah blah. But I actually know that they've been watching my positions, and they would attack every position when I was going live. So right now, I have like 2 points. So on the on uh, on the prop trading, so I have to probably restart for another week. So it's going to take another 2 weeks. But either way, as long as they have face showing, because I'm only using one lot, they shouldn't be able to see where I'm at unless they're tagging my position as it's going into the marketplace, which we know that they do. And then we're seeing that also within my yoga works, which was I was using to string, because there was a purpose and process to what I am doing as far as getting back in shape, and there's a reason I do the things that I do. And they, just like my mom would do, I'm starting to do a process. Oh, we can't let you do that. You know, they're all a bunch of psychopaths. And the other thing is, for me to say this about my mother, which was difficult as hell, but had to be done because they're still trying to use my brother, who's going to get everyone fucking killed because my sister-in-law's a fucking moron. This really throws a wrench in their works because they're always the narrative that they always need is melanated person, only slaves, only this, only that. Even my dad, he's 2 generations educated at minimum. I don't know past my grandfather, my dad's side, but more than likely it's 3 generations. So this throws their narrative, and that's Western education. So we're very deeply part of the West, of the Occident. No, no, that's the Occident, it's the East, I'm sorry, of the West, and partly of the East because of my sister. We are the globe as far as our genetic memories and formal education, higher education. This makes us exceptionally formidable because they can't give us the bullshit that they can feed black African Americans. And that's where my brother's innateness has been removed and the danger that he possess, that we'll get to later on. So Pelosi's husband was attacked because of these Plutarchs. They think that they're going to be able to strip mine, like right now, they're continuously strip mining Great Britain. Then they think they're going to roll down and continue to screw up Africa. We have Kenya, where the Chinese put only a partial standard gauge railway, knowing that I think they would not have saying, oh, if you go all the way over here, it'd be cool. Oh, but we're not going to give you all that money. That's and they're like, okay, we're cool, we're gonna do, but and then they're thinking, and then we'll just build it, but it was designed for it to fail. And then it looks like then they can say, see, those niggers can't do anything. And instead of the West stepping in and going, okay, China's throwing off these countries, has these false police forces in these countries, using the whole thing that no Chinese, no Han Chinese is allowed to be an individual. Instead of the West stepping in and go, you know what, it is way more expensive. It's probably going to lose money for a long time, but we're going to invest in Africa and we're going to finish the rest of this standard gauge railroad and tell the Chinese where they can go suck it. But anyways, but here's this thing. So the media is attacking. Why is the media attacking straight men? You know, and we're there's thing with the. I was watching the video. What was this one? It was this one here. This Me Too thing, and there was only one thing that where there weren't any straight men in this whole damn thing. You know, they're all not just saying you weren't, but the ones that they were interviewing, it's showing that's not a man. I'm sorry, that's not a man. This is what these kids are getting pissed off at. How do I be a man when everyone's saying that's a man? And he goes, like, "Oh, you're being so able. Fuck you. You're not helping these kids, these men, try to grow up to be men, and you're saying that these disassociated because there's two there. There's the it's like I think Lieutenant General Hertling. He might be that's I don't know what his freaking sexual preference is. Not my thing. Some might say he might be that. If he is, it's none of my damn business. He's damn good at his job. He's still a man. He might be a man, but he's still a man. He might be a straight man. I have no fucking clue. None of my damn business. But that is what we're being told. That straight men are being told is manhood. Bullshit. And there was only one point, one time. This one woman, she defended black American men, and that is what. Because there was a lot about Andrew Tate, blah blah blah. He's doing all this over the top on purpose. Where is that one? Shoot, yeah. You know, and this is what they're saying. How do you be a man? What is being a man if all you see around you is? And then there's another thing about Juanita Hill talking about. I didn't watch the whole video, but the headline was enough to be annoying. What Clarence Thomas did to Juanita Hill is wrong. What they're going to do is they're going to cut this and soundbite it and what I'm about to say next. And they're going to only hammer on this. President Obama, when he was on the campaign trail the other day, was talking about that look squirrel. See how easily you can be divided. But young men want to grow up. We're rambunctious. We climb trees. We're always running. We're that's just our nature. And you learn to challenge, turn that nature into positive good. But instead, we're getting kicked in the groin, and these kids do not know what to do. And they're being told the dude who wears makeup and can't figure out which bathroom to use is the man. Now, I am definitely not into DeSantis's BS shit, but that's bullshit. Then we're saying, and then you know, you know, so there's, and they were in that, and they were talking about Andrew Tate. Granted, Andrew Tate is way over the frickin' board, and that's the thing. He's using pretty much psychopathic positioning and misogynistic positioning to make money. But he does have some things that are true. But then you go down the rabbit hole, and that rabbit hole deep down into the red pill, then you get into the more deeply unhinged, truly deeply psychopathic and narcissistic behaviors. Because pickup artistry is actually the structure of being a narcissist and a psychopath. Peacocking, negging the target, all the dumb shit. And women are being taught, well, that's the guy. Oh, he's so edgy. Oh. But that so edgy dude when it's really time to get onto the freaking shit to make things happen. Poof. Do they take responsibility? Oh no. Start scapegoating, start pointing fingers. Poof. But they're being called the men. Not the guys who might take, you know, the only girl I probably would have probably married, and she's, from what I understand, probably assumes she's been married for years, has kids, so I'm not going to say her name because this puts everyone around me in danger. 6 months every day in high school, just walking and talking, getting to know her. If she hadn't moved away, I probably would have married her. Actually, I know I would have. But my mom probably would have actually gotten in the middle of that and fucked that relationship up as well. She's that fucking abusive. And so she has to keep this whole thing facade to hide her abuse. And I'm so sorry. My sister is probably, my brother is trauma bonded. My sister's probably like, this has to be hard for her because she's the one who's taking care of my mom. Black African American community has been traumatized and they're passing that trauma on and they do not want to admit it. And the Plutarchs are using it to undermine democracy for everyone. You have this thing with Herschel Walker where he was like, well, Herschel Walker is gaining on Raphael Warnock because he's getting all these Caucasians to vote for him and all this, and probably some black folks. Well, he is actually the archetype. He is the exact archetype of what bigots believe black Americans are. And they can say, well, we're not being racist. No, you're being extremely bigoted. He's a complete moron and an idiot. And all of those having extramarital kids and all of that and blah, 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 blah. Oh, he's just being a normal nigger. Sweet. He'll get him in the Senate and do what he's told. Mitch, here you go. That's why Mitch wants him. He's going to be a dumb motherfucker doing what he's told. That's why they brought him from Texas. He's doing what he's told. But you attack the one who helps. And they see that too. See, and the thing is, young men are being told, now, as you get into puberty, man, your rage hormones are raging, you're doing this. Here's the thing: women are taught. And I'm going to say this, right now, right? Robin Hatfield. I thought she was a friend. She, whatever. You do the right thing, put my family in danger, put me in danger. Has she even reached out to apologize? No, she thinks she's getting all the fucking goods. No, I want nothing to do with her. Her wife, all respect, I'll thank her. But she has not had the fucking guts. And I don't want a person like that around me. Because she did not know how to deal with her own emotions. And she doesn't have the guts to say, hey, Reg, I'm sorry I did that. And go out of her way. So it means because she doesn't sorry. She was fucking me over. She was throwing me under the bus. And she is not a friend. And I want nothing to do with her. Women are being taught that they don't have to have a responsibility for their actions or their behaviors. And this is where young men are having problems because there's like, we have to have responsibility for everything, but these chicks are over there doing shit. They're they're saying false rape accusations. They're doing all this shit. They learn, oh, I can be manipulative. But when they're busted, well, then I just make a lot of noise, like that chick at the UPS store, whose whole thing was to clean out. And she has this, oh, I have all these people, blah, blah, blah. And I kept asking her, are you sending my damn name to the fucking. And I need that on paper. I need you to write it. She won't write it because they're going to send my name to the reporting agencies. And then at that point, I'm going to rip her ass a new one. She was highly narcissistic. I mean, the patterns were like, so it was like, wow, you are a textbook pattern linguistic narcissist. That was fucking horrible. People, so we're saying these things about responsibility and all this, but the Republicans have no responsibility anymore. They say, fuck it. They're all scared, and then the Plutarchs are using that. Now, as I have said multiple times, and I have worked multiple times, I don't care. You know, here's the job, get it done, work as a team. But instead, every time he's like, hey, that's not the way we're supposed to do things. Well, I'll just make a lot of noise, and then I'll gaslight, and then I'll get these people, and then I'll undercut everything. And no, that's the reason I was like, no, 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 no. You see what happens. So we have this situation, the women are not taking an accountability, and the so-called the men are not men. Boys don't know how to become boys. And then, on top of it, the disassociating the young and abusing these young men for just being men, being kids growing up. They don't know how to date. And then if you do try to date and be like, okay, women believes, well, I can just take advantage of all these kids. I can take advantage of that one. Ha ha! Look at I get all these dudes coming towards me. Well, that's part of the feminine, gravity. But part of being human is to understand that each person has a distinct association of themselves, and to be taught and raised that you don't do that. It will come back to you in a negative manner. You put negative out, negative's coming back. Just like like Kennedy's protecting fucking well, she's not really protecting. She can't do shit anymore. Adams and Lewis. Jana's always been, because she comes from the 1%, has always been able to get away with bullshit because her mom and all this and her money. When she couldn't get away, then she ran to then her, Mr. Briscoe, and Adams then ran to used the whole gang thing and ran to Jay Z. Jay Z saying, "Well, I kept you alive." Blah blah. Yeah, yeah, you kept me alive. Yeah, that's what you think. You were somebody else came to Jay Z to do that. It wasn't on his own good being. Then they went to Kennedy and they're doing all this cover. Now Kennedy is in a deeper shit than she'd ever realized because she's always been able to hide behind her brother's works because she had Secret Service protection and then she had money. Jay Z, the Plutarchs, paid him so that way he keeps the prisons full, and he's done a damn good job of it. They go, well, Beyonce's Queen being a. It's a small club and she ain't in it. I think, well, we'll use your brother. Nope. We'll get to that in a bit. Doing all of these things instead of just saying, yes, we were abused for 400 years and we now abuse ourselves and our children. And we can't get our head out of our ass long enough to actually earn our rights. And then the Plutarchs keep saying, oh, you're supposed to make 100,000 or $1 million, and that's rare. As opposed to saying, hey, it's just good hard work. Build up a family, get a little something for yourselves. Because they want black Americans to not, as this situation changes, to where all this capital is transferred from the baby boomers to the Gen X and puts black Americans farther behind exponentially because they've gotten rid of the quote death tax. But you're too busy say, well, you need to do this and you know no. That's not how it was working and that's not what was going on. Destroy the families and you destroy the country. And the Plutarchs are doing that on purpose. Then they go, well, you should be Jesus. But the Jesus that they're talking about isn't the Jesus of the Bible. It's an excuse to be more of a psychopath. The situation between the President Biden is talking about this is this fight for the soul of America. And as I was thinking about this, purely from a structural position, the South was all id, and then the North was super ego, thought and all that. Right now, the South has risen again with the Kochs, this $9 billion fire hose, because when the Democrats had a chance, because of neoliberalism, to get rid of Citizens United and truly get their own power back, they've been so infiltrated, as we see with Kristen Sinema. You know, granted, Manchin, I'm annoyed by, but he actually makes sense. To a degree, he does actually keep his people working, annoyingly, even if they are being bamboozled by the same Plutarchs, who are actually stealing more from them. But Sinema is just a straight up plant, and she knows it. But the new economy, I mean, neoconservatism and neoliberalism is the same damn thing. It has nothing to do with people or holding on to old timey values. And conservatism, which is supposed to be conservatism to the Constitution, has been conservative to the Confederate Constitution. So they outwardly say the Constitution, in the U.S. Constitution, inwardly be acting as if it's the Confederate Constitution. There was no way, and we see that through the judges, the anti-federalists, even though they call themselves federalists, they're anti-federalist society. They don't believe in the federal system, so they think. They do like some of the most acrobatic BS of of logic to try to project their self-hatreds onto the Constitution. To get the working class, to keep them hammering the working class who are just trying to, you know, most, they just want to, yeah, go work, yeah, after a little bit of time, you know, a couple of decades, yeah, they got a little something. That's the way most people want. They want to feel that they're part of something, that they've built something, that they will, you know, that they got a little bit for all that hard work. Plutarchs keep squeezing and keep taking, could squeeze and could take it and keep taking. And you see what they're doing over, they're trying to, in Britain, destroy the national health system. Brexit. They thought, well, we'll just go take over. We're just gonna go old timey and tell the old brown people down there in the Caribbean what to do. Smoke another one because you fucked up. Oh well, we'll just go to Australia. Well, guess what? China wants Australia. They want the whole Pacific as their thing. Pacific and Africa, and even actually the whole fucking world. Way worse. But as opposed to where our the American Empire, they're going to be far worse. I am a biggest threat to both them, and I am terrified to the Plutarchs. And it's kind of hilarious that the Plutarchs are working with the same people who are actually working to destroy them. Gotta love that stupidity. Putin plays off of Sky News. Sky News then plays off of the Chinese. They're traitors to the West, while at the same time babbling about some Western chauvinism. My power is in the West. If you are taking away my power, you are not a Western chauvinist. You're just a jackass. And guess what? Your behaviors are trying to take away my power. Therefore, you're just a bunch of fucking jackasses. Here's looking at you, Stone. Because right now they don't want democracy. Because what they want to do, these one percenters or so, these Plutarchs, they want to destroy democracy. They're trying. The great houses are looking at freaking Charles and going, that's interesting. Watch this idiot. Because what happens is what it's as I've said, the Civil War was not fought. My personal thing was not fought over slavery. I mean, it's fought over slavery because slavery was where they were getting most of their money from, but it was mostly for the fact that they thought they were going to make themselves kings or queens. Counter, which is 100% a counter to the Enlightenment and the Enlightenment promise and the Constitution, which came out of the Enlightenment. And then you have Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever, and Boebert babbling about there's no separation of church and state. It's like, do you not know how to read? Did you get out of freaking middle school? Oh, that's right. Ted Cruz put Boebert in because she was a complete idiot. And just like Herschel Walker, she'll do what she's told. Hey, that's interesting. Two dumb niggers. or I should say three dumb niggers: Herschel Walker, Boebert, and Taylor Green. I'll get back to the great houses because they seem to have a message for the world. But first, we got like Ukraine. You need to look at all vertical turbines. We have different types of turbines. We have these vertical ones that just waggle back and forth. We have there's ones out in Iceland. There's another one where they're using the Bernoulli effect to basically take the air flows in and then it spins into that. So it's getting faster. The average speed is 10 miles per hour. The top of every building needs to be these smaller turbines. All the bombed out buildings using the Bernoulli effect to flow wind through these buildings where nobody can live in them. Turn those uh, into into power plants, wind turbine power plants. Connect it down into the grid. Then there's also I'd like to thank Israel for sending defensive weapons, counter drone weapons to protect these nodes. Ukraine can you have these networks within Africa, if the like South Africa and then Nigeria where you've sold your BMPs. See if they can get manufacturing and in Poland, so that way your people can be working to help pardon me, their people by building these wind turbines and stuff. And then there's also future export possibilities for developing countries after. But we do the manufacturing in Poland. That way, it keeps the women that Ukrainians sent over the border to be safe. That they have something to do. And then there's capital flowing and capital could be made. But the thing is, we have to watch Poland because Poland has been going to slide into that authoritarian. So we're gonna go like, hey man, they put a marker down because they need some money to uphold all these refugees, because that's where they're talking about the reparations with Germany. It's mostly because they just need money to help with the refugee problem or situation. Well, we can do manufacturing, some types of things that there's productivity, and then there's also trade within to Africa. So we can do those things to help keep things going, to help keep the economies going. To say so another thing is the BMP that the Ukrainians made. Those factories have been destroyed in Ukraine. Well, we could. So Estonia's put up like half of their military budget to Ukraine. Well, why don't we start between Poland and do splits, just like they have that BMP. They're going through them. It seems to be an actually very well made product. So the licensing to that, start building them in Poland and Estonia, so that they could be sent to the front lines in Ukraine, especially over the next 6 months. So by the time spring comes, they have the armored personnel carriers they need to get what they need to hammer smash the Russians. Because once Vladimir Putin's gone through these last 300,000, he's going to have to call full mobilization. If he calls full mobilization, he will more than likely be overturned. Prigozhin is, I don't like to use the word evil, but he's pretty damn near close to it. That's the guy of the Wagner Group. He is definitely angling to get rid of Shoigu. He's definitely angling, and if he can't manipulate Putin, because he doesn't seem to have a little fear of Putin. Like all the other guys are terrified of Putin. So I guess he thinks he has control of the FSB, the second directorate, because Putin has a second directorate and his own personal army. Because he also sent another 300,000. That was his personal army that were highly well equipped. So it was about 600,000 men about to be sent to the meat grinder. They fall. Putin falls. So that's what we need to do as we're preparing for the winter fights. Right now, we're in the mud season, or the fall mud season. It's going to be hard to hit Kherson, but got to keep pressure on them. Also, Poland has. We need to know where are they at with the training. Have we done this thing with the F-16s to Poland, and that we can transfer and do more training, training over in Poland, and then transfer the MiGs to the Ukrainians. We need to keep that up because air superiority over the winter. We just need to hammer those Russian positions into the ground, get air superiority, and then hammer those positions, and then get Kherson. It also gives us hammering ability because they keep trying to break the salient over in Bakhmut, and they're just sending bodies after bodies after bodies. So they're probably going to send a lot of waves of bodies towards Bakhmut to try to break the salient. That's why we're going to keep heading north and then come back down, come back down to the south. So if they break to the salient, we'll just end up encircling them. That's why they're afraid, which is good. Not this, and it's sad because these soldiers, they're you know, they are true patriots. The Russian soldiers are true patriots to their homeland, but they have a jackass who is not a patriot. He's just a greedy little shit. He's just a thug. And then working with the Chinese back and forth. But hey, there's some things with China go north, take out Mongolia and take out Siberia because you have all of that. Because once again, that's kind of Han Chinese in the eastern Siberia part. They could say the whole thing, well, the same thing. Well, they're genetically, they're Chinese-ish. Or Mongolian or whatever, then they would go that head north because all that oil, the northern part of Japan. But then we know that Xi, in order to get to be better than Mao, he has to go over to Taiwan. He has to take out Taiwan, which then means he has to go. And because of his communism, the the great house in Japan is now in danger. The great house of Hirohito is now in danger because she wants to go back all the way to thousands of years, some whatever. So they need us to be at each other's throats instead of being our normal self of working hard, creating new shit, being American, kicking ass, taking names. Instead we're beating each other up over some stupid stuff instead of creating more capacity for wealth. Because that's the most dangerous thing. Is when Americans create wealth, we create wealth like there's no other. We're damn good at making money. And then you have the situation where you have all these migrants coming up from up north, from down south. Who created the problem? The Plutarchs. They dumped all those freaking MS-13 dudes down south, created this fucking mess. Venezuela is another mess. South America's a mess because of their racism and their bigotry. Yeah, there's way too many migrants rolling over the border. That is a national security problem. But we created the mess. So we have to unfuck that mess. But they don't want to unfuck the mess because they know that the longer the mess, the more they can use it to put the thumb on the working class and then steal everything that the working class has worked for over generations. Just like when the Dust Bowl moved off the people off the land, they went in and took all of that land. Problem solution. But the solution is always worse for others. Yeah. Now back to the U.S. military. Originally, I had stated I was not too thrilled with the Abrams X, mostly because it only had a three-man crew, and that's way too much maintenance, way too hard. You throw a track, you don't have enough people, and it's just it's not it's too stressing on that crew, on that tank crew. And two, it doesn't really create a team. You need at least three to create a team. Two is just two, whatever. But it creating a team, a three-man team, you know, builds that unit cohesion, and then it doesn't do overload. Oh, well, four. But after looking at what they've done as far as the technologies using that stuff from the F-35 and all that, it looks like it's actually a really good platform, especially its network capability. You can keep these network capabilities so you have a network soldier to the network commander in the tanks, then the network, pardon me, all the other parts, and then that networks all the way through to our naval forces and the marine forces and the air forces. And so it's just this whole truly network centric attack vectoring systems. But you have to make sure that as a commander moves up in rank, they're not allowed to micromanage down, because they're going to want to, which will make him a shittier commander, which is something we're having problems with now. I remember when I was one the jackass who started the whole EO thing. Before he was sitting there giving he was a captain. And I just call him a jackass because that's all I. As a civilian, he's a jackass. And as far as I'm concerned, he should have never been put up to admiral. But that's freaking whatever. I digress. But he was babbling about, oh, we're gonna push things down. But the whole time he's saying it, he's fucking laughing, and I'm going, what a piece of shit. Psychopaths micromanage. Leaders train their troops to get the job done. Force them to train their troops to get their job done. Don't give them technology so they can be even more micromanaging. Also, we have the Zumwalt high mix, low mix. The Chinese are thing. They're it's a technology tester bed, test bed. It was a complete. Everyone talks about a complete screw up. Actually, it's very, as far as the stealth, it seems to work out really well. What was wrong was some of these weapons, things, the technology wasn't there. But we're going to need that high mix of platforms. Apparently, it's right now. It's on a first long deployment, but apparently the superstructure and it's really good in the seas. We've seen now where the reversed with a hull is reversed. I forgot what the heck the name is. Really works better in the seas. So we need to get those up and running, but modular back to where we could either modular and pull out a new gun, modular put in a new, just create better modularity. Keep the two Zumwalts we have as test beds, but then put Zumwalts that can work. Because the Chinese thing is to have is a bajillion. They're doing a triple canopy with all of these missiles, aerial denial. Zumwalts are there to aerial denial and protect as cruisers, high mix, low mix cruisers. Those then can move over into that because they're hard to target. LF, it's a low frequency that can spot stealth, but the high frequency is the target lock. It's hard to get the target lock on them. So we know that there's going to be, so to counter that, we'll have boomers coming in that area of denial. The Zumwalts can go past that in that area of denial, take out those positions, and then the fleet can do what the fleet does, kick ass. but we need to give the fleet commanders the tools to kick ass. And I am definitely not a big fan of the MiG, because one of the things that's problematic right now is as we get closer and closer to the quantum computing, the Chinese are stealing all of our quantum computing research just as fast as they can. He who controls the quantum computing will have a huge edge over the other adversary. China's all this also we've because China's also kept its internet closed, which was purposely done, one for control, but also control of its own populace, but also to try to keep it from being from the situation we're doing to Russia, which is squeezing them economically. So we have these things that we can do. Now, lastly, this is about the great houses and why. So the Democrats don't want to don't want to acknowledge the fact that it's mostly the black folks, actually, not just the Democrats, but black folks in general. Don't want to. Well, it's your duty. You're not. No, fuck you. I have a balance between two duties in my. And as a citizen, since you're trying to kill me, I'm going to go with what's going to keep me alive, and that's that duty. And then I have this. It's a slight problem. The duty is when I. Here's the thing. It's not even just about being alive, but black folks will say, "Well, you gotta tell us, seat at the table, blah 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 blah." And then, but the thing is, if you don't pay me, you don't acknowledge me. The whole idea is to say, "Okay, now," because this is one of the most black things that they all do. Okay, we've been abusing you. Oh, you heard. We'll just give you something now. I'm not asking for your fucking permission. I assume you're not going to acknowledge me. I assume you're going to be a bunch of niggers, and because mostly Jay Z's trying to keep his what he thinks is his power. $200,000 is nothing with a 25% cut, but then Don's probably goes, "Well, I'll just give you 10." No, don't do that. No, 25%. I keep things nice and simple. Charles is totally freaking out because he saw that 0.1% and didn't read the word syndication. And I guarantee you, his mother knew that syndication, what that meant. She would have somebody as sovereign to explain that to her and what the normal uh, um, percentages were. And the thing is, I cannot go below those normal percentages. It has to actually be higher because this is royal business, and my value is higher. And two, as a syndicator, that's what I want. Period. And no, there's no negotiations. Do I think the Democratic Party is going to do that? No, they're not. They're a bunch of candy asses. And so you will not, black Americans will not have a seat at the table. Because I'm going to explain something to you that is going to be very kind of surprising. You see, Don Rose, he went to school with three people in his class who are of the 1%, the generational 1%. Three walking conspiracy theories. See, the great houses, I am not just backed by my own blood, but the great houses of civilization, the royal great houses of civilization. We weren't just the 1%, we are the 0.01%. Three of his classmates are from the royal great houses of civilization, and we said he was the most likely to succeed. We raised him. So he's the only one we will speak to. And so Don can keep playing fuck games, being controlled by whatever. Or he can pull his head out of his ass. Because it's the same thing that Carlos was doing when you said to me that, hey man, we just need to, if Carlos, could get a hold of Jackson, yeah, he's a pain in the ass, but you would have been already millionaires, multi-millionaires, 100 billionaires, millionaires. Jay-Z's pissed because he found out, yeah, all those people who are doing the branding, guess whose system you're using? Ain't that a motherfucker? Who does this nigga think he is? I would suggest he shut up for a second. Because you going to play all gangster. Let me explain to you what it means. You want to play gangster? We are the royal great houses of civilization. We are civilization. We allow you to exist. And you dare bring any type of that hell to us, and we will remove your bloodline. My brother right now is half a blink away from having his family removed because of your big mouths. My sister-in-law is not royal. I have no qualms of removing her quickly. And then the royal great houses are watching King Charles be a complete dipshit and getting played by all of these frickin' Plutarchs and putting their lives in danger. They have no qualms of removing my brother and his bloodline. However, I will make sure that my middle niece is protected. She is under my protection. But the other two, they're too much like her mother, like their mother, which means she's very danger to the globe. My sister will hate me for the rest of her life. But the choice is the end of civilization, World War III, or my brother. Millions for one, billions for one, 3, maybe 6. Throw in Kennedy, and I'm damn sure making sure Ty's not living, or Miss Lewis. You might say this is cold, this is whatever. This is the language that these assholes understand. This is royal business. And if you play, and I cannot allow the pheasants to think they're going to dictate to us, what we will accept. I don't think so. Don, I suggest you, it is highly suggested you call President Obama, and he will take your phone call. As I stated at the very beginning, as they were thinking they were going to play you, this is the Game of Thrones. You have Admiral Strivitas thinking he's going to become top king or whatever. How do I know? His wife can't quit salivating. So know this, we are the royal great houses. Our lines stretch back to the beginning of time. We are civilization. And this is the target of both Putin and Xi. And we will not let that happen. We will not stand for that. The House of Hirohito, the great houses of Europe, the House of Windsor. If we do not make a stand now, all will be destroyed. And I do not try to make it overly big or whatever. They tell you what they're doing. Just listen. So, in conclusion, young men want to know how to be a man. How do you get the girl? How do most the women are, we know. So, as you're a young man, you're in your freaking whatever. Put your effort into your work. Put your effort into your school. Write down 100 things. Do the Lou Holtz thing. 100. Go down. Go, okay. What are the 100 things I want to do? You're 14, 15 years old, whatever. Well, okay, maybe I want to, just 100 things. Some things might take 20 years. Some things might take 40 years. Everyone's going to say, I want to make $1 million. Well, do you really want to make $1 million, or are you doing it because of everybody else? These are the things that you really enjoy, the things that are stupid. Maybe you like bugs. I want to learn all about bugs. All right. What does it take to be an what's that? Not epidemic. That's bug guy. Entomologist. You have to learn chemistry. You're going to have to learn all these things. Maybe you just want to, don't know what you want to do. You just want to go fishing every weekend. Well, and have a little place. Be like your pops. Maybe you want to be a truck driver. But these little things, and they don't have to be big things. Just 100 things. You lay that out there, and then you don't ever tell a chick unless she is straight up your wife. These are the little things that I like that I'm going to work on. These are the things worth fighting for. And two, we gotta quit this crap with women being able to think that they can do all this crap and then have no responsibilities. Throwing young men under the bus, kicking them in the groin, and then have no responsibility for the behavior. Nah, they need to be held to an account. While at the same time telling young men, no, it is wrong, just as it's wrong for women to falsely accuse men because they can't deal with their emotions. It is just as wrong for so it's wrong for women to emotionally abuse men as just as it's wrong for men to physically abuse women or emotionally abuse. Either way, abuse is abuse. Each individual is an individual, and you respect their individuality. And if we don't start showing this behavior, we'll cause more chaos. Well, Andrew Tate does say some things that are correct, how he's presenting it, and a lot of the deep red pill is misogynistic. It is not manly. We need to show young men, how to be men. That there's a season for everything. Like right now, whole thing of Tom Brady getting the divorce or whatever. Okay, he's playing again. And she's like, well, he can't be in football. The dude's going to be in football for the rest of his life. That's who he is. But has he transitioned? Is it because he's in football, or is it because she's figured he's old enough? It's time for him to transition to being the mentor. Which means you'd actually have to go learn how to be a coach to become the mentor and things like that. Is he willing to transition to the next stage of masculinity? And if he does, and she's still going at it, pull chalks and kick her out the door. We know once again that we need to make voting a big old party. if we can get voting up to 68% this cycle, we might be able to save democracy. Might. 40% of young people say they want to vote. Okay, I'm going to challenge you. Make that 42%. Actual. 42% of the actual young people vote. Make it a party. Make it a big kegger, a raging kegger. Bans everything. And then you tell them what we want, which is a national voting turd. We want to get rid of Citizens United. We want to make voting a national holiday. We need to change that situation on the last bill that Cinnamon Mancha put through. There was one, I haven't read it yet, but the one provision that all the business people like, which I actually like as well, but not the way it was done, is you can write off your capital goods. But I want that change. We need to have that changed where you can only write off 100% of your capital goods if 50% of those capital goods were 100% made in America or had at least 75% made in America, which means designed, built, and assembled in America. And you might say, well, that's going to be expensive. No, we got robots. We'll make it. We're Americans. It's a difficult thing. Guess what? We'll make it happen. We'll find a way to make money. We use the tax code to get the behaviors we need so capital comes back into our country, and then our cup can overflow and we can do the things we as Americans love to do, which is help the world, be that shining city on the hill. But they're stealing everything from our cup, and there's nothing to overflow, and we're getting kicked in the groin because of their greed. It's the same thing that's happening in England as they're getting rid of the NHS. What's this bedroom tax thing that they're doing? And who does it help? Because the conservatives, King Charles is being an idiot, and conservatives, because he's gotten so accustomed to the conservatives, and Murdochs and all that, to attack his enemies through their media. Did you not think there was a price for that? You're their bitch. What kind of king is that? And all the great houses we're watching. Because Don, it is not just that of my royal descent and blood that I am working off of. The great houses are also backing me. We really don't want to work with Jay-Z. We're not going to. But because you were raised by us, I mean raised as elevated, we will trust you only if you work through us. As I said, this is the Game of Thrones. And there is no middle ground. You want to step into this game? I suggest you have that conversation with your wife again. Talk to Dapper Dan and speak with President Obama. Do you want to show young men, black men, doesn't matter that you do you want to truly help your people? I guess since I'm melanated, our people. Or are you going to continue the cycle of poverty? But I will tell you this. I know the time for that payment to get to my account is short. And I'm not telling you when that time is because you're not pulling all. If you had a what that blah. Nope. There's a lot more moving parts going on that you do not know about. And JC damn sure doesn't know about. Does hip hop truly want to help its people? Or do they still want to continuously get played by the likes of the Mercers and the Princes, Kennedy, well, Kathleen Kennedy specifically, not the Kennedys in general, other long tail names that are really flipping out about the fact of who we are. Because here's the thing, since they've overturned the Constitution, Trump overturned the Constitution, it means that the treaty of 1780, whatever, from the American independence is no longer. Quite honestly, that's cool. I, Prince Harry, I think he'll take the West Coast all the way up to Idaho. Prince William, you can take the East Coast. Me, I'm happy North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and of course Texas, just because, oh, my favorite thing to do. Piss off Texans. And that might sound whatever, but by treaties and laws, I am not actually being overly facetious. This is the difference between royal blood and commoner blood. See, King Charles doesn't want the Magna Carta back up. And the nobles, we need to, we can't let that happen either. Because then oh yeah, especially with that little whispering commoner. Nope, can't be doing that. She is not, if he and King Charles and Camilla are not contained, they're just as dangerous as freaking Xi over there in China. Because we're not going to contain them, I might as well make some money off of the damn thing. And if you think I am bullshitting, I am not. My brother put my life and my sister's life and the world's life in danger. My little shit sister-in-law is more worried about being how cool she is because she knows that she did that on purpose, that she split the family up on purpose. Make no mistake about it. I have no care about her or her life. And my brother will try to protect her, and I have no cares about his afterwards. My sister will hate me. I understand. But if I don't do this, the alternative of what will happen will be far worse. I'd much rather just get back to being a citizen, riding my motorcycle, making my money, buy my house, hit my goals. No one would have ever heard of me. Just a weird dude with freaking dreads. Woohoo! But history is called. And I would not be a man if I did not answer. I do not wish to be cold, and I do not wish to be Sith like. But I sure as hell am not. You know, what's the use of a world that's charred to ashes? Only the Sith want to be the king of skulls. King or queen of skulls. So the other thing is back into review, make sure we do it, distribute the power generation off of wind. Every building that gets burned out, bombed. So basically, if they keep bombing the buildings, putting holes in them, we keep turning them into wind turbines. We keep turning them into power generation stations. We can make this happen. Gamers, we have the Russians are trying to, with all of this, they're trying to do two things. They're trying to keep as much fear in Biden as possible. They're trying to force Biden to have a heart attack or a stroke, then and then use the ascension of Vice President Harris into presidency as then a wedge to further divide the country. Okay, that's Putin's attack with the whole nuclear thing. So he might actually lay off a dirty bomb, mostly to create as an indirect attack on the president of the United States. So the second thing is Ukraine needs to be able to, right now, look at the ground, look at the weaponry. They know that we're going to roll them up from the north in the Luhansk region. So that's why they put those defense lines. Come up with a new strategy to either get through those defense lines or attack from the south, and then make sure we can take out Kherson with as minimal amount of damage as possible. Also, if we can find a way to stop the Russians are stealing Ukrainian citizens and shipping them into Russia. I mean, that's just disgusting. Another bunch of war crimes by a bunch of criminals, by evil people. We need cover. And then they're trying to play the Belarusian thing. Remember, we're still anonymous. We're still waiting. I hope you've been probing and getting the holes ready. So we need to be able to break through. The world's waiting for black Americans to head to the streets. But it's probably, Trump is this week, supposed to hand over the papers. He's probably not. Wait, not yet. We won't arrest him. We'll make sure if Mark Meadows does not show up, definitely bring him in. Start ratcheting up the pressure on him. And if he doesn't show up on the 14th, Congress needs to, and that Congress needs to use its power of inherent contempt and physically bring Trump in for a week of questioning. And then we need to be able to surround the Capitol to keep out the riffraff. Because he's nothing more than a criminal, and he will be treated as a criminal. Order will be rebalanced. The Constitution will be upheld. And we also then the reason we need to vote is we also need, another thing that's the most important thing is undo all of these constitutional convention things. So get rid of Citizens United, undo the BS Confederate constitutional conventions, and restore the Constitution. It will take courage. It will take years. But in the end, we will have a better and stronger republic and democracy throughout the world. But it only depends if black Americans finally have a backbone. Because guess what? The oligarchs and Xi and Putin, they assume you don't. And you keep proving them right. Slava Ukraine. Glory to democracy. And may the flag forever wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave.